Well, after months and months of waiting, we're officially in the home stretch of the home stretch. In less than a week, the 2026 NFL Draft and the anticipated crowd could be 500,000 people or more are going to be arriving right here in our city. Welcome to our third and final KDKA Draft Command show, providing you with what you need to know ahead of the draft coming to Pittsburgh next week. I'm John Shumway.
And I'm Chris Hoffman. We want to start with an update to the spaces that will serve as the draft's footprint with a new map released by the draft. John, there's a lot of stuff going on here.
There really is, and the map really gives you a sense of what we're talking about. The footprint is on both sides of the Allegheny River, and so we got a lot of it in Point State Park and a lot more of it over on the North Shore. And the first thing I want to point out to you is if you're coming and you want to experience it all, you got to be able to get from one place to the other. So there are two ways to do that. On Friday and Saturday, there will be the Gateway Clipper, which will take you from one side of the river to the other to get you back and forth between the two. Now, that will not be available on Thursday. Thursday, your only way is going to be on foot. You cannot use the Fort Duquesne Bridge pedestrian crossing. That is closed. So you'll have to come out. Let's say you're on the Point State Park side. You'll come out, come down Liberty Avenue to Penn Avenue, up 6th, the Roberto Clemente Bridge, around PNC Park and down the river to the main entrance over on the North Shore. Now, let me take you to the North Shore and show you a little bit more of what's going on there. Not only will you have the entrance I just pointed out coming off of the North Shore Drive, you'll also have one coming off of the Tony Dorsett Way, and there's yet another entry point over by the casino. That's how you get into the footprint. If you want to go into Acrisure Stadium, and there's a lot going on inside Acrisure Stadium, there are two ways to get in. One, Gate C will be an entrance, and the other entrance will be down here by Gate A right off North Shore Drive. Once you get in there, man, they're going to have a lot of fun stuff. How would you like to kick a field goal through the goal post at Acrisure Stadium? They're going to have that set up. There's play football. There's Tops has got activities galore in there for you. You can do the 40-yard dash. You can kick goals. It's a lot of fun. Now, there's also the main theater, which you will see. This is where a lot of the invited guests will be, and those of us who are general admission will be back here watching the main draft. Now, let me take you back over to Point State Park and point out a couple of things. Number one, all of this is on your NFL One Pass, so you can really get in there and see the details of where things are. And you can see, for instance, when the autographs are going to take place at the autograph stage, the Vince Lombardi stage is there, all these things on this side of Point State Park. And on the other side of the Portal Bridge is the NFL Draft Experience, and that's where the kids can have fun, also kicking field goals, the 40-yard dash, and everything that goes along with this. And then, of course, there are the exits to get you out of the point itself and over to the north side if that's where you're going. But Chris, there is so much to do on both sides of the river. And the great thing is it's all very family-centric.
Oh, and that's been the idea. Anytime we've talked to the NFL, that's what they really wanted to make. This was something that it's not just for diehard football fans. It's something that everyone can try to come down and enjoy with activities.
Yeah, and the reality is there's going to be one pick for the Steelers on Thursday. Yeah. So you got other times to do a lot of other things.
Now, one thing that we definitely know will be an issue is the living near that footprint. You know, it's a few more days till the NFL draft, and it's been felt there for weeks in the form of road closures, John. A lot of people have had to deal with seeing barricades already.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of these have already been in place. They started a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to see a lot more coming to downtown right leading up to the draft. Now, ahead of the draft closures, of course, we had phase one. That was over there by the stadium. And then we had the spaces immediately around the draft. Then phase two happened on the 13th with more streets closing. And the big one is coming as we approach on April the 22nd. The rest will kick in, and we're talking about the North Shore. We're talking about Liberty Avenue closing, Penn Avenue closing, Roberto Clemente and the Warhol Bridges closing, and all of these spaces over on the North Shore are also going to be shutting down.
Well, this is a big reason why there's been such a push for mass transit. You have the T that goes right over to the North Shore.
Right.
You also have the buses coming to downtown. That's why they're really trying to force people to do this, because there's just really not going to be a ton of places to drive around and or park.
Yeah, and the parking is a big deal because we're talking about parking spaces that are, if you get a parking space anywhere close to this for $100, you got a deal. I mean, we're talking about parking spaces that are over $200 to come to this thing. Let the people from Baltimore pay that. Stay here and ride the T.
Yeah, and this has certainly been a big undertaking for the city of Pittsburgh, John. We've seen so many projects, and it's something we brought up with Mayor Corey O'Connor. We spoke with him. You're going to hear from him a little bit coming up about what he thinks this can do for the Steel City beyond just this 3-day event. You mentioned coming on down here. There's already the comments on social media of it being a madhouse with our infrastructure. How do you kind of assure people that, no, we can get down here and have a good time?
Yeah, I say just give yourself a little bit more time. If you can use public transit, obviously please do. If not, parking right here is not happening. So if you can park a couple blocks away, give yourself time with traffic, new traffic patterns, roads being closed. But it's an experience, I guess we hosted in the 40s by accident, but it wasn't what it is today. So, this is an experience that's going to be once of a lifetime for a lot of Pittsburghers. And we know that we are a sports town, so come down and, show off your black and gold. Please give yourself some time, but be part of it. Experience what not many cities get to experience, and it's right here in our backyard.
There has been concerns from businesses that are owned by people of color maybe not being as represented in the draft's footprint. How are we trying to work to make sure all voices, everyone has a chance to cash in on this?
Yeah, and that's something that we've heard over the last few weeks. And unfortunately, the mayor's office and our staff, we didn't select the vendors. This is all sort of the permit has gone out, and there's a source program through the NFL and through the Steelers, and they've been trying to work that out. Again, nothing that we can do, but we want to accommodate all of our small businesses, and how could they be part of it? So, us trying to get creative and talk to as many people. That's why we have offered, talked about storefronts that are open downtown through the PDP. That's something that we can control with our partners. When it comes to basically a private event like this, we had no control over that program.
With the city hosting, and have we heard from other events yet that have garnered interest in the city because of this?
Oh yeah, we're getting calls almost weekly now about larger conferences, larger sporting events that might want to be hosted here, and I think it's great. And I think, this is why this is a big showcase for us, that this might not be the only couple 100,000 people event that we can host. And we show that we can host these large events to bring more revenue, to bring more people to Pittsburgh.
How exciting is it for you, lifelong Pittsburgher, to have this event here while you do serve as mayor?
Yeah, I think it's a historic day. And I think, being a Steeler fan all my life, having season tickets, going to so many games, but just being part of the atmosphere on the North Shore, pregame, after game, it's something that's exciting. And I think, when you look back in 20 years, we're going to be proud of what Pittsburgh put on this week. And then it's, again, building off the momentum of we now get to sell our city to the world. And it's exciting to all of us.
I'm going to throw a curveball here. What position, maybe not player, but what position?
What position?
They take in that?
That's a good question.
What do you think's their biggest need?
Well, obviously the quarterback debate is always a debate, but what we're hearing, and I think Mike McCarthy being a Greenfield guy, I think he knows what he's talking about when it comes to, getting new quarterbacks situated in the NFL, so hopefully not that. I think you just take the most talent at that time. Obviously you look at linemen all the time, and it's always funny, everybody picks a lineman and nobody knows who the lineman is, but that's in the trenches. And if, you want to run the ball, you want to stop the run, defense and offensive line aren't the most, flashy positions, but that's how you win championships. So I like to see somebody interior if I had a pick.
In other words, go for the beef.
Yes, and there's a lot of mock drafts saying that. So, maybe the mayor's on to something there.
Absolutely.
Now, if you do want to see the full conversation with Mayor O'Connor, we'll have that over on our YouTube page, John.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to sit down with Pittsburgh Regional Transit and talk about all things transportation and the importance of depending on transportation during the draft and the PRT and the shuttles and everything else. Stay tuned. Well, welcome back. With the anticipated crowds and the road closures due to the draft, public transportation is going to be a key role for the draft.
Yeah, and whether or not you're visiting for the draft or just coming in for work, during the days of the event, the services provided by Pittsburgh Regional Transit will be used by hundreds of thousands of people next week. So for those coming from outside the city, counties and municipalities from around the region are pitching in to help bring people in for the draft. We're talking about Beaver, Butler, Washington, and Fayette counties will be offering shuttle services to the Steel City throughout the draft. Now, for more information on their services, head on over to their websites, John.
And for those who are coming in and around Allegheny County in the city of Pittsburgh, obviously Pittsburgh Regional Transit is going to be the key to get you to where you need to go. I've been standing on my ears telling people, take the bus, take the T.
Well, and that's a great segue into now being joined by Catherine Kellerman, CEO of Pittsburgh Regional Transit, who has been preaching this, telling people to take public transit next week. Catherine, thanks for joining us. You've been planning this for a year now. Are we ready?
We are absolutely ready. It will be a lot of people, but we have survived Taylor Swift back to back. We handle Toby Keith every year, and we can get all the Pitt fans in, and the Penn folks, and the Penn State folks at the same time. We can do this. It'll be full, but being on the T car is still going to be better than being in your own car.
All right, let me sound like a Pittsburgher for a second. I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, it's one thing to talk about 150,000 people over a couple of days, right? 700,000 people up to that? I mean, we don't know how many people are going to come, but I mean, that's a lot of people. Do we really have the infrastructure and transportation to handle that?
No.
Okay.
The best infrastructure is going to be public transit, and let me walk through that. Our highways can absorb a certain amount. Who has not fought with the Squirrel Hill Tunnel, right?
Yeah.
Or
Fort
bottleneck
Pitt.
down 28. We can absorb this capacity better than anything else, and this is what we are here to do. This is what we are set up to do. So folks can see we've got our light rail lines running. They'll be going on a 12-minute frequency throughout, not 12, 15 minutes throughout the day, both lines. That comes to 7 or 8 minutes, and that is free. Sheetz is our sponsor for light rail and T fares. And then the Pittsburgh Host Committee and the Pittsburgh Foundation are covering the fares for our commuter routes, which are coming north, south, east, west. So McCandless, Monroeville, Large, which is a municipality, not an adjective, and the University Park and Ride. You'll have these nonstop shuttles coming in, and all those have their fares being covered. And why is that important? It's not just a nice gesture. We can go faster when everyone's not tapping their fare card.
And you kind of touched base on this already about leaving the car at home, where some of these sites are for PRT. What infrastructure do you have that makes it so your buses aren't stuck in the same traffic that everyone else is?
Wow, that's a great question. So we've got downtown, our bus lanes. And if you've been downtown recently, you've seen our red bus lanes. We have Smithfield also, which is a bus lane. So it's easier for us to get around. And again, if you're going to be stuck in traffic, you can read your Kindle if you're on a bus. The other one is, think about how much time people waste trying to get to their parking place or getting away. That can be up to a third of the time of your trip. We cover all of that for you. We can drop you off, and you can go to North Shore, you can go to Point State Park, or anywhere in between. Enjoy, it'll be nice weather. We can get you there.
You said we can drop you off. If you get on one of the flyers, the football flyers,
yes,
where are you going to end up when you get to the footprint?
We will have different locations through town that we get dropped off at, and part of this stays dynamic because we don't know what gets shut, what gets open, but where we drop you off is where we'll pick you up, and we will be back for you. So these buses will be running all throughout the day, starting early in the morning and running till midnight-ish. We will get you home where we dropped you off. You're also going to see a whole bunch of folks in PRT shirts, PRT hats. We'll be out there to answer questions. Our customer service folks are working around the clock. We are not going to leave you stranded.
So it's the way to go.
And I was going to say real quick here, how do you balance all this and the people that rely on this every day?
Wow,
Yeah,
so
because you got commuters.
We sure do. So we will be running Thursday and Friday. We're running a Saturday schedule for a few things. Far fewer folks are going to be coming in, and this lets us focus on the trips we can do and these extra shuttles and guarantee it. If we tried to do all of our weekday and the shuttles,
Right.
who do you pick? And you know what? Our Yinzers are our bread and butter. These are the folks we carry. So we want to help the draft, but we want to get everyone to work too.
Just a point of clarification.
Sure.
Okay, the shuttles and everything, we're talking about all this stuff free. What about the daily commuters? Are they going to have to pay?
They are on our regular route. We don't have sponsors for that, but that's another reason we're running that Saturday service. We're confident that we can handle that load on Saturday. We know we're going to be there for you. Go out to a stop, take a picture of the QR code with your phone. You'll see when your bus is showing up. And again, customer service around the clock. We're going to be there for you.
Oh, come on, make it free.
You know what? You sound like my kid. I would love that.
Catherine, thank you for joining us today, and good luck with everything next week.
Thank you.
As they say, we're all counting on you.
We're here for it.
To say the least. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to hear from Rich Walsh and CBS Sports analyst Ryan Wilson, who they think the Steelers are going to take with #1 pick. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. While there will be plenty of fanfare for the fans when the draft comes to town, it's important to remember that the draft is about NFL teams selecting players they hope will make an impact on the field.
Yeah, these are life-changing decisions that are going to be made. And our Rich Walsh recently sat down with CBS Sports analyst Ryan Wilson to talk about who the Steelers might select with pick number 21 overall.
All right, thanks a lot. We're counting down the days to the NFL draft. We're less than a week away right now. We're going to break it all down with one of my favorites, Ryan Wilson of CBS Sports Network, a draft guru. And I want to find out who the Steelers are going to draft with the 21st overall pick. And Ryan, who do you think is going to be there? Who do you think they're going to take? What's your gut feeling right now as we get closer to that first round?
Hey, Rich, good to see you as always. It's wide open, and there are any number of directions you can go. I do think the Steelers are set up to be better this year than they were a year ago going into the 2025 season. So here's the thing. You can draft Ty Simpson at 21. Should he be there as a future quarterback? And maybe he plays in 2026. Maybe you allow him to sit. And I think that with Mike McCarthy is actually going to be a good pairing. That said, if Caden Proctor's sitting there to the left tackle, I'm thinking long and hard about that because Broderick Jones, we don't know where he's going to be recovering from the neck surgery that he had late last year. I do know that the left tackle, the undrafted free agent, played really well in his place over the final month of the season. So maybe the Steelers are okay with that transition. Another name to keep an eye on, and I don't think he's there, but if Vega Ioane is there, the left guard out of Penn State, that's a layup David DeCastro type pick from back in the day because they need a left guard, and he would pencil in there, and he would be there for 10 years. Another name to keep an eye on, we know they got Michael Pittman Jr. in the trade to pair with DK Metcalf, and that wide receiver room already looks bigger, stronger, faster than a year ago. But if Jordan Tyson is there, I don't think Mekhi Lemon will be there at USC, but if Jordan Tyson is there, who would only slip because of some injury concerns, and the Steelers doctors are fine with where he is medically, and he's going to have a recheck here in the days before the draft, he could be an option there. He would have been in the wide receiver one conversation had he been completely healthy. It's probably going to be Carnell Tate. But the idea of the transformation in that wide receiver room, having two big physical playmakers in addition to DK Metcalf, is certainly something that any quarterback would be excited to see in black and gold.
You know what, Ryan? It seems like a different tone. A couple months ago, you and I were in Indy for the Combine, and we were talking about the Steelers drafted a receiver first round. Now that has changed since Michael Pittman signed him. I still think they could. They still need a slot corner. They brought in Mekhi Lemon last week to the Steelers facility, one of 30 visits. Is there a chance that he potentially could fall to the Steelers at 21, or would they have to use one of those third-round picks to go up and get him?
You know what? That's a good question, Rich, because, gosh, what year was that? 2006, I believe. They traded up into the first round to get Santonio Holmes. And that was back in the Kevin Colbert days, and even the Bill Cowher's last year, as it turns out. And that turned out to be the right pick.
Yeah.
So not a lot of examples of trading up in Steelers history, but when they do it, it's usually worked out.
Devin Bush, in 2019, they traded up to get him.
That's a good call, and that's the one time it didn't work out.
No.
Let's focus on Santonio and Troy Polamalu and forget about the Devin. The amazing thing is Devin Bush has actually revitalized his career, so credit to him.
Yeah.
But in terms of Mekhi Lemon, here's the thing: there is a chance that he falls. We're really talking him up in the pre-draft process, along with Carnell Tate, as a top 15, maybe even top 10 pick. But if you only go back a few years. The very first wide receiver off the board, named Jackson Smith-Njigba, now the highest paid wide receiver in the league, went 20th. And then there was a run on wide receivers the next three picks, some combination of Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, and Quentin Johnston. And it turns out, if we're having a redraft, JSN is probably a top 5 pick. But my point is that sometimes wide receivers get pushed down because of the run on quarterbacks, which should only be one quarterback here, maybe two if Ty Simpson goes at 16, offensive linemen, edge rushers, and sometimes cornerbacks. So that can push down a wide receiver. So I would say there's probably a 35% chance that Mekhi Lemon's there. But if he is there, he is Amon-Ra St. Brown all day long. You are drafting him if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, and now you are cooking with gas in that wide receiver room. And it takes you back to the days, the glory days, when they had those wide receivers for Big Ben. They just came in waves, whether it was the Hines Ward early on in Big Ben's career or Antonio Brown later on in the career in that crew that were able to consistently find ways to get open. And again, that makes the life easier for any quarterback, young or old, for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Is there anyone that could fall that's intriguing? Maybe a cornerback. Could Mansour Delane fall? Someone like him? Maybe a safety, one of these safeties?
Mansour Delane's not going to fall, I don't think. Like, the Dolphins at 11 feel like a pretty good landing spot should he make it that far. He's a fantastic player. I do think Jermod McCoy has a chance, in much the same way that we talk about Mekhi Lemon. He had an ACL injury in January 2025, did not play at all last season. That said, he ran 4.38 at his workout a few weeks ago, so that absolves any concerns about potentially the knee not being where it needs to be. But medically, if for some reason certain teams may not clear him and other teams do, he has a chance to perhaps fall, but I think he has a chance to be a top 15 pick as well. The safeties, much more likely. Not Caleb Downs, of course, but Dylan Thieneman out of Oregon, fantastic football player. And Emmanuel McNeil Warren out of Toledo, both really good safeties. Both can play deep half, both can play downhill against the run. And I would imagine some are going off the board between 20 and 32. So that also could be two names to keep an eye on if they're looking to add depth in the secondary next to Jalen Ramsey.
Well, the Steelers brought in Warren last week. All right, Ryan, thanks a lot. We got to take a break right now. We'll see you back here next week. KDK Sports, KDKA Draft Central on CBS News Pittsburgh. We'll be back right after this.
Welcome back, and John, it's certainly going to be quite a scene next week. This time, or next week on Thursday, there could be hundreds of thousands of people all right there on the north.
Can't imagine what it's going to be like. And if we want to leave you with anything, we want to make sure that you're aware of the fact, get your NFL One Pass on your phone so you're ready. Make sure you got that QR code. Use the parking apps to set up your parking in advance, and then just have a good time. We thank you for joining us for the KDKA Draft Command shows. We hope you've learned something you'll be able to use when the draft comes to town.
And if you do plan on heading into the crowds, we hope you enjoy yourself out there. Have a great night, everyone.